It's the Mornings with Ed show on the all-new Voice of Laguna, and welcome. Straight up at 8 o'clock, it's time for the Mornings Artist Corner, today brought to you by the folks at the Honacar Foundation for Arts and Culture over at 298 Broadway. I couldn't be happier to have this artist on. Not just an artist, but an entrepreneur and an advocate for innovative storytelling. He spent the last 20 years as an independent thinker, a doer, and a maker. Currently, we just finished a run at the Sawdust Art Festival and the 33rd Annual Winter Fantasy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Mr. Durden to you. I'm talking about Michael Phillips. Welcome in, and thank you for being here. First of all, been wanting to get you on the program for a while here, and I'm so glad that we're able to this morning. Thank you for getting up early. Thank you for changing your circadian rhythm so that you're up early this morning. An artist with creativity, yet you've got to worry about the business end as well. Tell us about that.
The business side of the art stuff, and then about 8 o'clock at night, I start grooving into the actual painting of this whole thing.
So the business side of it, does that... the business end of comedy, the business end of radio sometimes taps my energy a little bit. Is that what happens with you sometimes?
Yeah, I tend to have two separate personalities with that. And if one isn't working, I try to just lean on the other. That's the way it goes back and forth.
Right.
So if I don't have the energy to paint or something I'm struggling with and just can't figure out the issues I'm having there, sometimes I have to put it down and just focus on whatever the production of business would be for the next 6-8 hours. We see if it comes back. Right.
In the years that I've been passing by your booth at Sawdust or passing you by on the street, and we have a 2 or 3 minute conversation, I find you incredibly detailed, and your art shows it, of course. But your the way you perceive things, you really dig deep into detail. Has it always been that way? Were you like that as a kid? Were you the kid in junior high that drew on his peachy folder and
Yeah, I actually think much better when I'm not like visually watching something. It's when I'm listening to the thing and then I'm drawing, like my hands move creatively. So I would draw all over every single page, history papers, whatever else it was, while I was listening to the professor talk or something.
Right.
It's just the way that it works for me.
Did you turn out to be a good student?
Intelligent, but not focused on the grades.
Okay.
I guess is what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Able to absorb stuff, like for instance, able to absorb stuff without having to take notes.
Enjoyed learning.
Right?
Yeah, didn't enjoy some of the stable processes of learning. I really enjoy the content, and I would like to go deeper on certain subjects and then just think others weren't worth my time. So academically it wasn't phenomenal, but it's some of it stuck in there somehow.
Right. Yeah. We're very similar in that way. Yeah. I was easily bored, but always kind of knew what they were talking about. Yeah. It was like a little sponge. You could grab it. Yeah. Anyone in your family artistically creative? Were your parents?
Yeah,
creative?
My mother's side all has a creative spin to them. Some to the more craft side, some to the more art side. They all pretty much wanted to go to art school, but that's before anybody thought it was possible, and still I probably don't think it's that possible. And then I was the first one and kind of the only one to sort of take the full jump into the thing, and so I did get encouragement, and I was an only child, which I think was a big deal, as far as like you're spending a lot of time creatively in your own head. Someone gives you a pen and paper and you don't say anything for 2 hours, and if you just say it's a good job and put it on the refrigerator, then I'm back to 2 hours of quiet again. So
right.
It's a great babysitter.
Yeah. So you graduate high school.
Yeah.
The Columbus College of Art and Design, was that the next move, or was there something in between high school?
I went to a very specialized high school. So I had a home school, and there's a military base in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm from.
Right.
It's an Army base specifically, and it has I guess you would call it like an OSHA thing here, but it's orchestra, ballet, and then kids like me, and you basically get scholarship from your home school in the state once you it's like your submission for college.
Right.
And then they bus you into that military base for about 2/3 of your day, everything. So you would go from 30 minutes away to downtown to meet up with other kids who were sort of special, and it's really art school in high school instead of art school.
Right.
And it works the way that sports do, where instead of a normal kid going to a school and going to art school, you just hope that you're picking the right art school. All these art schools come and recruit from that school because they know these are the best.
Right.
The best and brightest of that thing.
Right. The top 2%.
Yeah.
The
So
top
all
5%.
the country, all the big art schools come and try and get you to go to that art school.
Right. So tell me about Ohio. You grew up in Columbus. I got a friend from Zanesville who just texted me moments ago. Zanesville, Ohio.
Yeah, it's Zanesville. It's not a big town,
right?
Not super small, but not a big town. And I played sports through also high school, so we would play like Zanesville and from certain schools and things like that.
Right.
So
it was Zanesville the school you went and kicked their butt. Was it that small?
They
town?
weren't even. No, they weren't even on. So I went to a different school in high school in the middle too, and no, it's further away. And
okay,
yeah, they weren't phenomenal.
All right, yeah. How are you as an athlete?
Oh man, I was definitely the upper level of athletics for that place, you know?
Right.
So I thought soccer was going to be my thing. And then, once you get into those teen years and you realize there's a place called Europe or Brazil or, then you realize maybe this is not going to work out for me.
Right. Wow. That Argentine kid just ran past me with the ball, man.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
New perspective for sure.
So art as a career, that is the comedy as a career move that you make. That's a big leap. Tell me about that leap and the decision and the support or lack of support that you got making it a career.
Yeah, I find this happens every single day at my art shows. People will come in and they'll say, my kid wants to be an artist. They're in high school or even later or earlier, and say, what's the perspective on, is this a good choice, and all those kind of things.
Right.
And it's a pretty serious conversation when that happens, because I'm about to change this person's entire future by what I tell you. So
right.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat this thing. I'm gonna tell you what it's really like. It's also very, very often an uneducated decision that you're making, because no one in your immediate life has actually made that leap.
Right.
So I was in the same situation. So I got the encouragement to make art from the mom side of the art world,
right.
but no one knew what being an artist really meant, and you don't find that out until you're actually really out of college, because they don't teach you much about business back then, within the art. Right.
So you go to art, you go to, like, for instance, the Columbus School of Art, and you don't learn the business end of it.
Back then, zero.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to a very special school during that time. We had the longest running president of any college in the nation. We had the number 1 homework hours of any school in the nation, and the number 1 dropout rate.
Wow.
So 75%, 1 in 4 graduated from art school, from that specific art school, because of how hard it was. It was known to just grind you to oblivion, and if you made it, you made it. And there was a special program your sophomore year in that school, and everything has changed since then, because everything's money for universities and things like that now.
Right.
Where your sophomore teachers, the professors who would teach those sort of levels, would evaluate all your work from your freshman year in front of everybody else and determine whether you were allowed to continue at the art school or not. So it wasn't about whether you paid tuition. It was because they wanted that scholarship money back to put into the next kid who they could grind out.
It's like the West Point of art.
It was brutal. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations on swimming through it.
Yeah. That's the first stage.
Those are muddy waters to be swimming through right there, man. And does art school teach you anything you didn't already know, or that you don't already intrinsically have?
Yeah, I would say, part of those homework hours is at least 50 or 60% of being an artist is the dedication of those hours, like the learning and the failing, and that you're going to learn that on your own if you're in something that forces you to do it.
Right.
That, especially the craft side of it, the technical side of materials or whatever else it is.
Right.
But creatively, color theory and all the contemporary design ideas, and how you can, because I'm an illustrator, so that means I'm doing storytelling type of artwork.
Right.
Talking about Rockwell or something like that.
Right.
And if you do storytelling type of artwork, you need to understand the dynamics of the way the brain visually see things, because if you read a book backwards, the book doesn't make any sense. So if you look at my paintings and you're looking at the wrong thing first or second or third, and I have to manipulate that, then you're not going to get the story that I'm trying to tell you.
Right. Oh, perfectly stated. Because when I look at your work, it expands. I look at an image. I'll just for the sake of exampling here, I'll look at the clothesline of sports jerseys, which I love, and I focus on one, and it expands, and there they are. That's Dan. That's him. That's that. And then within the art, within that piece, you put other little whimsical illustrations up. Is that the 2 a.m. I'm tired and I'm just so creative at this moment, or is that pre-thought out?
Yeah, there's kind of different sections of my work. I don't know that they're completely clear as to how they don't fade into each other. But the kind of piece that you're talking about is more of a trivia-based piece where people will immediately stop, no matter what their ages are, full families, young to old in the family, and discuss the same painting, depending on that sports character, because there is some sort of element in all of them where I'm leaving out something where you're trying to figure out exactly the pieces that I'm missing on that, and it's just a natural thing I'm trying to create where people interact with the artwork, because it's really the thing I don't see in art anymore, where people don't talk about their art in their home. If you have people over for a party, they're not like, let me tell you about the piece that's on the wall and why I bought it, or and it used to be something that it was television. It was before all these other things. And I'm trying to create that interaction between the people who are viewing it together to learn more about each other. So I've had people who have known each other for 40 years, and because they're looking at a music piece and trying to figure out who the musician is, that they were at the same concert in 1974 that they didn't know they were at together. And these are people who have known each other for a long time, and because they saw that painting and they're talking about that musician, they say, I was at this concert in 1974, and then they, this thing happens. So a lot of the work, and this is some of the other sections too, with the ones that have art history in them, or those extra sort of hidden contents, are really supposed to be in the way a bumper sticker grabs your attention. It's supposed to be simple, and you're supposed to not know that there is more to the dynamics of what I'm manipulating you to do. And then if you stay long enough, you hear about those other things, and it kind of changes your perspective of even why you sort of stopped in the first place.
I can look, and we have a few of your pieces at the house, and I do take time when we have guests. I don't like guests at my house, by the way. I'm not a party thrower, man. I'm just not that guy. But when we do have guests, and it happens, we do discuss the pieces that we have, and yours almost every single time. I'm discovering something new when I look at it. And it makes me just go, I got to get this guy on the show, man. I got to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's awesome for me. It really is, as someone who just liked the piece and now discovers that I can learn more from it as I look at it. And I don't want to embarrass you, but my sister's in love with your stuff, too. She came out and just happened to walk through Sawdust and picked up a postcard size something for her daughter. Now she's in, man. She's sold. She's bought the Mr. Durden, man. She's there. When people come up to you and they either give you all of that love or they give you suggestions about maybe something you should do, is that something you kind of brush off, or do you take it in? What does public comment mean to you?
Yeah, I definitely love both sides of that, and I have that human instinct that we all have, which is you can get 90 compliments and only remember the bad one.
The one
that
sucked,
they do chip away at you eventually.
They do.
And they can be really harmless. It's the accumulation that triggers the one that sets you off. You do get a really fun perspective on the communal brain, I guess, when you see this stuff. And art is a very unique job, and there are others like stand up, where you're getting the immediate expectations of someone put right on top of what it is you're doing, even though you didn't sort of ask to stop them to say, hey, you're not an artist, but tell me what you think of this painting and whether I did it right. But yeah, I think that I've got pieces that are influential women. Women have changed the entire world, that has race and politics and Nobel Prize winners, all these different things in it. And I would think, subject-wise, when you talk about politics or something else, that's where I would get the controversy in the artwork. All the controversy in my artwork is in the sports. It is all day long sports. Why someone? Why not that team? Why? And there's multiple levels of that too, because it could be the age of that person on whether they loved the players of this time where people don't appreciate them anymore, or it could be the young kid who's like, how can you not love this new player who just traded to this one team that I happen to be born into.
Where's Wilt Chamberlain?
Yes, that whole thing. That's where I get most of it. And the biggest problem with that is I'm not done painting. But when they come in, there's an automatic, they're not thinking of it either, there's an expectation of that specific painting they're looking at should have what they want. Not going, well, he might make what I want someday. They just come at it like, you messed up. This is a completely screwed up opportunity because I'm here now and it's not done yet, and I didn't even think about the fact that you might do it.
Right. It's that sense of entitlement that people tend to have that they don't even realize they have, but they, wow, do the rest of us realize it.
Yeah, so I'm constantly trying to remind myself that that's a big compliment, because they stopped, and the reason they're talking to me is because they cared about it, because they really liked that thing, and they just hoped that one more piece of them was in that piece.
As an illustrator, you are among the most creative I've ever seen, and you worked for many advertising agencies. Does that stunt your creativity? Does that put you in a box sometimes that they ask you to do something that is less than what you can achieve artistically?
I did all of that freelance corporate work, advertising agency stuff, early when I got out of art school, and at that point, I didn't know the business side well enough. I didn't know how any of the creative process actually worked, so I was very happy just to be a part of those things and to put in whatever creatively I could, because you're also working with other creatives. So the advertising agency is full of creative people,
right?
And then you have the agent in between, and then you have the corporate client, and they're just as frustrated as I am with the steps in between of giving them something creative and coming back with mediocre examples of what they want to change. And that's just business. When you get into mass marketing, you kind of have to knock off some of those cool edges to reach a larger audience sometimes.
Right. Who's on your walls? What artists do you like, and or have you grown up loving?
I mean, historically, I don't think there's anybody better than Americana-wise than Rockwell. I'm in love with the simplicity of the way he's able to grab your heart in all these different ways. And the other thing about Rockwell is that when you see those paintings in person, because they're not something that really anybody goes, for the most part, to go look at those painting, because the prints are everywhere. You've got mugs and dishes and calendars and books, and you've seen them so many times in
memes on Instagram,
everywhere, that you don't, when you see them in print and you see them that small, you don't appreciate how an amazing of a painter he was. And then you get into the idea of like timelines. This is a commercial publication that needs to be reproduced, and he's painting in oil paint. Right. So you don't get the full amount of days to get the thing done, because it has to be dry by the time that the thing is printed. Right. So he's losing all of that physical dry time of the paint, even in his timeline, to get something done for that print production. It's just mind blowing to me to think back to how amazing and quick and everything efficient he must have been to be able to do that.
I mentioned my sister earlier. I think that's why she loves you so much. So my mom had collected way back when, in the 60s and 70s, they used to have Norman Rockwell plates. You could purchase plates that had Rockwell images on them, and when my mom passed, my sister got those plates and loves them, and that loves them for that reason right there. And I think there's the connection that I can make between the two of you and Norman Rockwell.
Yeah. Then like, if you do come and talk to me at any of my shows about the artwork, there are multiple Rockwell paintings hidden in my paintings, and that goes to the other side of, not the trivia side of the things we talked about earlier, but the idea of me taking what you would call derivative art. You would recognize Star Wars or superheroes or princesses, whatever the thing is. And what I try to do with all those things is dig deeper to the core of whatever those things are that we're connecting to, whether you're aware of them or not, and then parallel those to some sort of human thing that we all interact in. Rockwell shows these really well, so obviously you can lean that way. And then hide that thing that we're already familiar with in some way, just on a humanitarian level, inside the pop culture of what you know. So I'm using the knowledge you have of that pop culture, Star Wars, whatever it is, and I'm like, this is actually how we go through this thing, and I'm going to hide that in there in a way that you have zero understanding that it's not just Star Wars.
It's funny you say that, because one of the pieces that we have, though it's whimsical and light on the surface, there's a darkness to it as well. Which I love. And is that the two sides of the coin for you?
It can be the humanity side of things. I have some pieces to discuss sort of like charity or currency, Bitcoin or crypto, and sort of the future of that. And and again, I try and parallel it to other things that have happened in the past, or show you how things are really just about the stability and faith of something to have value, and show you the other things that are related to that exact concept that you might not see, and then take images that that are iconic of those and mix them together, and it really creates something that stops people to to immediately make judgments on the mixes of what those things possibly could be,
right.
Before they talk to me, which is a natural thing.
Right.
But it's just a fun way to get people to prospectively think of things. And another example I was talking about with this charity thing is that charity, when you hear about that constantly, you get tired. You see the guy begging for the money. You see the human side of charity. Oh, we went to the food kitchen.
Right.
And it gets tiresome because you hear the same repetitive thing. But the piece I did it through the eyes of pigeons and dogs. And when you can change the perspective of even the species that's dealing with that issue, it reignites the core of the thing that you care about. Right. You lost all that other layer you've been hearing about all the time, and now you're back to the core of what we're trying to be, trying to help people.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you for doing that, by the way. And I got a couple of more questions before I let you go. You're a father of two. Clearly, your circadian clock is timed out at some point. Tell me about being a dad. Tell me about your kids.
Yeah. I guess since we're marketing the artwork here, we might as well. Single father of two kids.
There you go.
Any of those first wives out there that are missing someone they need to adopt, I'm available for that. I have two great kids. They're young. Kids do like to get up early. You try not to push them into my crazy schedule because then they don't want to wake up. It's basically 3 days a week I'm on their schedule, and then 3-4 days a week I'm on my schedule, and depending on shows and things, because obviously our shows always open up early too. So I've just been forced by life to adapt to those things and sleep when I can.
Do either of them have a flair for art that you've noticed?
I'll try to beat it out of them if I can. Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, they're surrounded by it with me.
Right.
My ex-wife's walls are still completely cut. She loves my work. It's covered in art and all the other things that I influenced her to buy on all of our travels and stuff. So. Yeah, they're surrounded by it. They've got lots of markers. They've got endless amounts of art supplies.
I'll beat it out of them.
Yeah, I will definitely beat. I hope they don't pick the path that I did, and I hope that they can continue to just make it for the enjoyment and the therapy of making artwork. There's a real purity to that,
right?
And that's a whole nother discussion about like what it changes, how art changes when you do it for a living, and time is money, and you live in an expensive city, and how much money do you need? How much time do you have? And, so, it's, I really enjoy seeing them do it. And you do want to see the glimmer of something special come out of their artwork, which hasn't quite happened yet.
Right.
But they're definitely surrounded by art supplies and art and me painting and my art shows and, people who are fans, like you were talking about. I definitely do have sort of that following thing where people come back every year and try and get one. And, really one of the big special things about that to me is that I was an only child and I didn't have special artwork on my wall when I look back on what I had chosen or money or any of that kind of thing. But it was really, really important to me because I remember every single piece of artwork that I had on my walls as kids. And now I've seen all these other children have my artwork as their artwork on their walls.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, my nieces and nephews have your artwork on their walls, and there you go.
So I don't know how that'll influence this next group, but hopefully you don't blame me for whatever comes out of.
Hey, you came out a little twisted.
Yeah. That's that artwork.
You mentioned the therapy of it, and I want to know when your perfect moment is. Are you listening to music when creating? Are you alone, silent when you're creating? What's the therapy for you when you're creating? What is that moment like?
Yeah, when I was in college doing artwork all-nighters, it would be music most of the time and then movies. And again, I listen really well because from the very beginning I would make art while I was listening to teachers and stuff. So and then podcasts became a big thing, and it's 9 hours a day of podcasts. It's every single day. I listen to a lot of stand-up comedy stuff. I listen to a lot of the NPR stuff, This American Life, all these different things while I'm painting. I weirdly have a hard time with silence now. Unless I'm writing the stories that we're talking about. So then I have to, those stories I'm telling you about, I have to then write cleverly in some unique way on the back of every one of those things, and not in the same formula. Some of them are poems, some of them are historical references, whatever that is. And then that's the one time where I have to do the pure silence, and there's some pain in that. I don't know that it's only me again, if that makes sense.
I get that completely. I totally get that. And for me, I can do any other work with music on in the background. If I'm sitting down to write a set or whatever, I need that silence. So I absolutely get that. You're brilliant in your commentary and your poetry or whatever it is on the back. And I love the mysteries sometimes that you invite us to examine on the back. So touche and well done.
Yeah.
How does our listener find your art? Where do we go?
Yeah, it's Durden Art on everything. So Instagram, all the different social medias, and it's durdenart.com. It's DURDENART. And if you need to remember that easily, Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club was Tyler Durden, and it's spelled the same way. So
there you go.
And when you think of me, think of Brad Pitt, I guess.
We all do. Yeah, we all do. And between now and Summer Sawdust, what do you? How busy is your schedule? What are you doing?
Well, this is my second job. This is when I get to paint, right? Because all the other time I'm selling. That's an entirely separate job where I don't get any creative painting time in, and that's more than half of my year is the selling portion of it, which is strange because the better you get at anything, the less you get to do it is basically the way it goes.
There you go.
So my next art show, so I'll be heavily painting. This will be when I make the bulk of the new artwork for the next, sort of winter section. And then I start in Arizona a little bit, Scottsdale, and I think late March, Tucson, that kind of thing in late March. And then WonderCon, the Comic-Con sister show in San Diego, or in Anaheim there at Disney.
Okay.
And then San Diego in April, and then I'm back into the this area of Orange County for all of summer and Beverly Hills and stuff, that kind of stuff.
Well, I wanted, and I'm sure you already know, but I wanted you to know that even if someone doesn't stop at your booth to purchase something, you've actually brightened people's lives just as they walk by and look at it, man. And you've done it to me a million times, and I see strangers do it as I'm at Sawdust, and I can't thank you enough for your art and certainly for being here this morning.
Thank you.
It's Mr. Durden to the rest of you, Michael Phillips to those of us here nearby. Thank you very much for being in this morning, Michael.
Thank you, Ed.
All right. It's the Mornings with Ed show, 8:32 the time.
11.
Chicago.